everyone, welcome to another episode of Arena Talks. Today we will talk about the Obi-Wan Kenobi mini-series. But first, a note of the host of this podcast. I would appreciate it if you like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends and family. The series is set after the events of the film Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, during which the Jedi Order was purged with Order 66 and Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi apprentice Anakin Skywalker became the Sith Lord Darth Vader. After remaining in hiding for the next 10 years on the planet Tatooine, watching over Anakin's sons Luke, Kenobi is called on a mission to rescue Anakin's daughter Leia when she is kidnapped by the Galactic Empire's Jedi hunting Inquisitors in the plot to draw Kenobi out. This brings Kenobi into conflict with Vader, who he believes to be the dad, forcing Kenobi to face his traumatic past and guilty feelings. So now a short recap of the episode. There only are 6, so it makes the little mini-series, the storyline a little bit better. Episode 1. 10 years after Order 66, when most of the Jedi Order were killed, reclusive former Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi is hiding in a cave on Tatooine, under the alias Ben. He watched over a young Luke Skywalker, the son of his former apprentice turned enemy Anakin Skywalker, now living with his uncle and aunt Owen and Beru Lars. Despite Owen's dislike Kenobi, Kenobi has also lost his connection to the Force, cannot communicate with the Force spirit of his former deceased master Qui-Gon Jinn, and experience nightmares from his past. The Inquisitors, led by the Grand Inquisitor, look for a Jedi named Nari on Tatooine. Reva Savender, third sister of the Inquisitors, is also obsessed with finding Kenobi, who is widely believed to be dead. In an attempt to lure him, she hires bounty hunters to kidnap Princess Leia Organa from Alderaan. Nari tries to get help from Kenobi, but is rejected and later hanged in the town. Kenobi agrees to rescue Leia after her adoptive father, Bail Organa, visits the home. Episode 2. After tracking Leia kidnappers to the planet Dayu, Kenobi encounters conman Haya S3, who pretends to be a Jedi. Haya directs Kenobi to Leia's location, where he defeats the kidnappers and rescues her. The Grand Inquisitor learns of their presence and puts the city on lockdown. Reva disobeys orders and places a new bounty on Kenobi, causing mercenaries around the city to target him and Leia. When Leia realizes they are after Kenobi, she loses trust in him and runs away, escaping to a roof with mercenaries attempting to kill them. Leia jumps off and Kenobi saves her using the Force, regaining her trust. Haya directs him to an unguarded cargo port from which they can escape, but cannot stop Reva from following them. The Grand Inquisitor arrives to arrest Kenobi himself, but Reva stabs him with her lightsaber. As Kenobi and Leia escape, Reva reveals that Anakin, whom Kenobi believes to be dead, is still alive as Darth Vader. Elsewhere, Vader awakes in a Bacta tank. Episode 3. From his fortress on Mustafar, Vader instructs Reva to find Kenobi, promising to promote her to Grand Inquisitor if she succeeds. Kenobi and Leia's transport lands on the mining planet Mapuzo, and they proceed to be rendezvous provided by Haja. Finding no one there, they take a ride on an Imperial transport. They are discovered and Imperial troops are sent to capture them, but they received help from an Imperial officer, Tala, who is a member of the Pod, an underground network that hides descendants and outlaws hunted by the Empire. She escorts them to a secret subterranean passageway. But before they leave, Vader and the Inquisitors arrive and begin to harm innocent bystanders to lure Kenobi to reveal himself. Kenobi sends Leia and Tala ahead while he provides a distraction. He is eventually confronted by Vader, who overpowers Kenobi and burns him. Tala provides a distraction to save Kenobi, but Leia is captured by Reva. Episode 4. Having escaped Vader on Mapuso, Kenobi and Tala arrive at a pet facility on Jambim. Meanwhile, Leia being held in Fortress Inquisitors, the stronghold headquarters of the Inquisitors located on Noor, is interrogated by Reva for details on the Pod. Kenobi and Tala plan to infiltrate the fortress to rescue Leia. Once inside, Kenobi discovered a trophy vault filled with the preserved corpses of Jedi who has been captured and killed, including a youngling. They rescued Leia, but Tala's cover is blown as the presence is revealed. They eventually escape with help from Pod Commander Roken and his guerrilla troops. Vader, angered by the events, moves to kill Reva for her failure, but spares her when she reveals that a tracker was attached to Leia's companion droid, Lola, in anticipation of a rescue. Episode 5. Vader reflects on lightsaber training he had with Kenobi prior to the Clone Wars as he tracks the Pod network to Jabim. Vader promotes Reva to Grand Inquisitor, who leads the siege on the Pod facility, deactivating its escape doors. To stall for time, Kenobi speaks with Reva and deduces that she knows Vader's true identity from witnessing his massacre at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant when she was a youngling. She reveals she wanted to gain Vader's favor to kill him for revenge. The facility is then breached, with Tala sacrificing herself to save Kenobi. Realizing they cannot win, Kenobi surrenders and is taken to Reva. He convinces Reva to kill Vader when she delivers Kenobi. Meanwhile, Leia opens the facility doors after removing Lola's tracker, allowing the Pod to escape as Vader arrives at the docking bay. Reva used the opportunity to try to kill Vader, but is quickly overpowered after a brief duel and stabbed. She is left for dead as the original Grand Inquisitor arrives to reaffirm his status. As the Pod network escape, Reva finds Bail Organa's message on Kenobi's transmitter, revealing Luke's location on Tatooine. And the last episode, episode 6. Reva arrives on Tatooine to find Luke, while Darth Vader and the Empire pursue the Pod network. Kenobi decides to lure Vader away and confront him alone on a nearby planet, allowing the Pod to safely escape. After regaining his full connection to the Force, Kenobi incapacitates Vader. Realizing Anakin has completely embraced his identity as Darth Vader, a sudden Kenobi leaves. After arriving at Luke's home, Reva is confronted by Owen and Beru. She subdues them and pursues Luke into the desert. After remembering Anakin's massacre of the Jedi Temple, she decides to return Luke to his family. Kenobi congratulates her for the overcoming her trauma and liberating herself from the dark side. Mustafa, a healed fighter, abandons his search for Kenobi after his master, Emperor Palpatine, questioned his motives and loyalty. Back in Alderaan, Leia finds new resolve in her duties as a princess. Kenobi visits the Organos and affirms that he will help them when needed. When returning to Tatooine, he resolved his conflicts with Owen by agreeing to let Luke have a normal life and finally meets with Luke for a very first time. Having found inner peace, Obi-Wan is finally able to converse with the Force spirit of Qui-Gon Jinn. I must say that this series, Star Wars series, is one of my favorite, I think, because I must confess, I have not been watching the series or other Star Wars series for a long time, because I was afraid that they would disappoint me, because in that time they made a lot of series and movies and of the franchise, and I was thinking, dude, that this is so going to be a download for the fans. And now I have watched the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and Andor and The Mandalorian. I must say they had it right, and I really enjoyed watching this series. Now let me tell you something before this. Little old stupid me have watched first the documentary of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and then I watched the miniseries. And so I don't want to say I got spoilers, but it was more like it gave me more perspective in how I was, and it is mainly because I saw this little video clip on YouTube that Ewan McGregor talked about his involvement with this series, and how not only as Obi-Wan Kenobi, of course, but also as a producer, and the bond that he has with Christian Hayden, it's amazing, and it was very nice to see in the back screens, of course, what they did. And so when I was watching this series, I have watched this series about 2 or 3 times behind each other, cause to see things differently in every time I watched it. And there was one thing that was really occurred to me, was that this story of Obi-Wan Kenobi is very intense. And when you see him in the first 2 episodes, that he is not really the Obi-Wan Kenobi we know. And only when he confronts Vader, and there's a little nice story behind it as well, when he confronts Vader on that planet, he had to tap in the Force. And he haven't done that for a long, long time. And it was like he was transforming and gaining more power than he would ever have. That is the one thing he defeat Vader. And I already said there was a little nice thing to it. When I was watching the documentary, When Hayden Christian came for the first time, fully accustomed as Darth Vader, everyone was quiet and wanted to be there, and so Ewan McGregor haven't seen Hayden already in full costume. So what you see, the first face that Ewan give as Obi-Wan Kenobi and then start running away, that is real. And I remember him telling everyone was so excited, everyone was quiet, and there was this atmosphere or of electricity that something gonna be happening. And so when Hayden Christians walked out in full costume, everything stops, even time. And so it was very impressive to see him in as Darth Vader again. And I think you could see those two haven't aged. Really, they don't. They still look the same. They have the same energy. They bring the same energy also on set, and that was very, very, very important to see, I think. So, the story of Obi-Wan Kenobi in hiding and coming to terms with his past is a very strong aspect for his continual living. And we also, of course, see that the little girl, Princess Leia, has a big role in this miniseries. What I liked and what we see, what I didn't know when I was watching just the normal Star Wars movies, is that Leia is very, well, she is sassy. And she has a lot of knowledge of droids and whatever else more. And she's a strong little girl. And what I really saw in her is like, I think a lot of people, and that's why they always say it, she is the leader of the rebellion in a way. She is this girl that take no for an answer. And she can be pretty stubborn, but I think she has a lot of her mother of it. You know, she goes on an adventure. She doesn't like to be, well, I don't understand not being polite to politician or whatever. It is more like she has her own thoughts and she acts on it. And I think that's what makes Obi-Wan Kenobi drawn to her as well. Not only because she is Anakin's and Padme's daughter, but she, in one way, she pushed him to confront his own traumas and his way of living, what he's being in hiding, etc. So when she is, well, after he let her believe in him again and she put him on the spot, she, you can see she forgives him and she understands him more. And what you are seeing in the end of episode 6, when he's visiting the Organas, she And that's what concerned me a bit. Um, she ran up to him and he gave her a droid back. But I was half expecting that she would give him a hug of, I know you saved my life and I trust you. So there was this point in the series that you could see like a little bit of a father-daughter bond forming between Leia and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I really liked that. And the only question that's come to mind now is if Obi-Wan Kenobi is that involved with the lives of Leia and Luke, why don't they why don't you see that in a stronger form in the movies? And yeah, that's come to mind also. Will there be a miniseries about those two? They are very important. They are very important characters that you would see in the whole franchise. There are some things that I like to say about another great character, and that is Reva. And of course, we see in one of the episodes that she was one of the children who were there in the Jedi Temple when Anakin massacred most of them. But it is, and I don't know why, maybe you guys know it, Anakin, or Darth Vader in this case, took her with him and she went to the dark side. And in the whole series, you see that she is struggling with the dark side and the good side. So eventually, Obi-Wan is convincing her of killing Anakin because he doesn't have the courage to do it himself. And then we see that Reva is trying, but Darth Vader is a bit still too strong for her. I do like the lightsabers, by the way. The lightsaber she got is very unique because it reminded me of a European sword, long sword. And it is nice to see that they really have different kind of different kind of lightsabers. But what we see is that she has very, very this ambition, and I'm asking myself, where does that come from? Cause, okay, it's like Harry Potter. You got, if you are a Slytherin, you are ambition, you are cunning, and etc. And that's what I see in the dark side as well. So, and of course, you can see Gryffindor will be matched as the Jedi. The only thing is, and we never have seen that really in the movies or in other series, is that one particular person, in this case Reva, a Jedi Master, but also a one who struggles with both sides. As it reminds me of Spock from Star Trek. He also was the one who struggled with his human side and Vulcan side. And I think Reva is a good example for a lot of people nowadays. We struggle with the same thing. We struggle with good and bad. And now I'm going to take an example of witches. So you have a dark witch and you have a white witch. But a lot of people are in the middle. And you can, that I think Riva is a great example of those two things and struggle with it. Oh, I love the droids, by the way, especially that little one, that Lola, that is little friend of Leia. And it reminds me of like those little Dragon Ball from Yu-Gi-Oh, you know? And I think it's marvelous that they pick a young girl to be great with as a mechanic. And it's nice to see, and maybe they did this because to show little girls these days that mechanics and technique and engineering is also for girls, not only for boys. And that's what I love about this miniseries, is that they bring some of the things back to tell young people. It's not only or to inspire young girls to go that extra mile to say, okay, I'm not going to take a girly girl profession, but I am this. And I think that is very commendable that they did that, especially because she is a princess and she has certain duties. But you can see how she reacted on her cousin when he said, "Yeah, use things low form, and why you do that, and you're not a princess." And she has this very witty, sassy answer to him that I was saying, "Oh yeah, go girl," you know. What was really nice to see. And she is that true, and you know, her whole experience of being kidnapped is really like, that must be traumatized her as well. But she is looking so strong, and yeah, I think that is phenomenal for a young child. The other thing that is what was I really fond of is that the sets are amazing. And I must say, with the sets and of course some of the fighting scenes, it makes a very attractive action series. And like I said, it was better than I thought. And you know, I do think that people are too critics sometimes, and you know, series and movies like this are just like, alright, just relax and enjoy the movie or enjoy the environment. But what the other thing I really love about this miniseries is that they used all the actors that also playing in the movies. So, for example, Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru of Luke Skywalker. It was just so super nice to see them back. You know, those are the characters we know. And even with Hayden and Ewan, if you see the documentary as well, how they are so well trained together. They know their every moves, and when they were training for the Phantom Menace, etc. It's still there. And I think that makes the fun part of it. I must say, I must uh, compliment the director of the series. She did a really good job, a really good job, and especially because this was in a time that the pandemic was uh, around already or loosening it up. So that must be also be weird and difficult to shoot the series. I do think, and of course I have already mentioned it, but the storyline of this whole miniseries is very good written, and I think I don't want. I'm not sure they have to make a uh, miniseries after this, but in one way it would be nice if the story continues, because this is of course there is still a gap from one movie to another movie, and um, they have the abilities and maybe the creativity to explore that gap, but also to write it. So I'm not gonna say that I'm going to write it, cause my expertise of writing is still in another area. So yeah, but I'm curious what they do further with it, and we see that with the Mandalorian and Endor as well. Um, they they are good series, and no matter what you say or do, um, everyone always have something to say about it. So this is my opinion, and I loved it. I love to see that story of course, Obi-Wan Kenobi, but also with Leia and Luke and Darth Vader. And let me see what the rating is on IMDb. The rating on IMDb is a 7.1. What I do think is a bit low. And now I'm looking back at my notes and I see Qui-Gon Jinn, of course. That was really surprising. The last scene with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn, that was that was really surprising, and I really loved it. So the rating is a 7.1. I think that is too low. I will give it an 8 or maybe an 8.5, because that's what I'm comfortable with, and I do think they deserve it. It is quite great how they made it. And maybe I say that because, of course, I have seen the documentary before I watched the miniseries, what was a bit stupid of me. But okay, but I did got to see how Ewan and Christian work through those moments, intense moments. And although Reva was very dark, I still liked her, and she performs this strong, beautiful, and female character. And of course, we have those a lot in Star Wars, but it's very good to see how they mentioned this, because nowadays women are I don't want to say it's still something between male and female, and with all those gender thing going on, that I'm saying it has to be quite a challenge to see who we really are. And I mean that also with the traditional thinking of, for example, quite female roles or men roles. And to see in this miniseries that they are different, but also you got to think and get to see that I think there was a lot of confusion about those gender roles, to be honest. And I must say, and this is totally, sorry guys, this is totally a bit of a different subject than I'm talking about this miniseries, but I still want to mention it. I think the society is confused with all those gender feelings and how men wants to pronounced, etc., etc. And it's not that I'm against them, but it make a lot of confusion in what and who we are. And I think it's normal that people are saying, stop with it. Stay in, I don't want to say stay in the norm, but stay in the few that we really know and accept, you know. And of course, there are parts of it we don't accept yet, but it's still there. So, like what I said, I would rating this miniseries higher because of the sets, of the storyline, the characters, etc. And I think they deserve more than a 7.1. So guys, let me know what you think about this miniseries. I'd love to know. And you can comment, of course, in the comment section. And who knows, we have a little discussion about this all. Well, thank you for listening, and join me in 2 weeks for another new episode of Arena Talks. The next episode is about the book of the memoirs of Sir Patrick Stewart, Make It So. You can find the Arena Talks podcast on Spotify, Anchors, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, on the YouTube channel, or the Facebook group. I also have 2 other podcasts called the Dutch Ready Room Podcast and Girls Talking Track. The Dutch Ready Room Podcast is a podcast for all Dutch Trekkies and to talk about everything Star Trek. And of course this will be spoken in my native language, Dutch. You can find the Dutch Ready Room on the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. And the Girls Talking Track is a track podcast that I used to do with my good friend Amanda, but since her passing I'm doing the podcast alone. So I'm still looking for another track friend who will have the time to recap with me every 2 weeks an episode of Star Trek. At the moment I am recapping season 3 of Star Trek TNG.